Hello there. Thank you so much for joining us. This is News Channel Nebraska. My name's Eric McKay. Let's take a look at our top headlines today. Flooding along the Missouri River prompting Nebraska's governor to take action. Governor Jim Pillen declaring a state of emergency on Monday afternoon for all counties along the Missouri River. That frees up state funds and resources to help address the flooding in order to protect lives and property. Also, Monday afternoon, Pillen joined with Iowa's Governor Kim Reynolds in issuing a joint request for people to stay off the river in the coming days. That request described the message as urgent, saying it was informed by emergency management officials and the U.S. Army Corps of Engineers. The river had been listed between minor and moderate flood stage Monday evening. Now, weather officials are warning the Missouri could come close to major flood stages in the coming days. The National Weather Water Prediction Service lists the Missouri River in minor flood stage across most of Nebraska as of Monday. But the river level's projected to reach moderate flood stage everywhere south of Blair by Thursday. The Brownville River gauge expected to be closest to major flood stage. The forecast says the river likely will be within a foot of what it classifies the major flood stage, and that could result in overtopping the levee of the Missouri and water reaching I-29. In other news, federal prosecutors say Boeing should face criminal charges. They're formally recommending the Justice Department pursue prosecution. Meanwhile, families of people who died in Boeing's crashes back in 2018 and 19 taking new legal action of their own. Amy Kiley has the latest.
You have to hold them accountable in order to make a safety culture.
Federal prosecutors are asking the Justice Department to criminally prosecute Boeing as families of crash victims take their own action in court. In a motion yesterday, they ask a federal judge to appoint an independent monitor for Boeing. It's a renewed request in light of recent safety concerns.
And what we've been asking for the whole time is for no third crash.
Meanwhile, pressure is growing for the DOJ to file criminal charges against Boeing. Federal prosecutors are recommending that step for alleged 737 MAX safety issues.
The company always says, all our products meet or exceed all safety standards. That's not true.
This whistleblower says he thinks prosecution is the right call.
There was several individuals that made very conscious decisions. They knew what they were doing. They knew they were taking risks.
The Justice Department is still deciding about charges, according to a source familiar with the matter. Its own investigation is ongoing, but the department does say Boeing likely violated terms of a deferred prosecution agreement from 2021. Boeing denies that and says it's improving its approaches to company culture and safety.
We understand the gravity, and we're committed to moving forward with transparency and accountability.
I'm Amy Kiley reporting.
A new federal rule aims to ensure first responders can find out what hazardous chemicals are on a train after a derailment so they can respond appropriately. The rule was finalized Monday. Firefighters responding to last year's fiery derailment in Ohio said they risked their lives trying to extinguish a blaze without knowing the right way to respond. The local fire chief said it took 45 minutes for him to learn exactly what was on the train. A federal official says those running toward a fire need to know the unique risks they face so they can have the right gear and evacuate everyone in danger. A potential new housing development in central Nebraska, one step closer to reality. Developers with innate concepts aiming to bring 300-plus housing units to ag land in Hastings. Well, the Hastings City Council on Monday approved rezoning the land from ag to residential on a 5-2 vote. Now, 6 yes votes were needed to skip the third and final ordinance hearing, but one council member was absent on Monday. So that third and final reading now expected to be in 2 weeks. If it passes then, developers will get the green light to begin building. Community, business, and economic development leaders met in the Panhandle on Monday to discuss community and economic growth. Governor Jim Pillen was in Gearing with the 6 Regions, 1 Nebraska approach as the main topic. That's part of a partnership between the governor's office, the Office of Economic Development, and the State Chamber of Commerce.
This is a beautiful part of the state with great assets, natural resources, cultural assets, wonderful place to be. Population is fairly stable, but it hasn't grown over the past decade. There are certainly some workforce challenges, finding great job opportunities in place across folks' lifetime, making wages to be able to afford housing and afford a great quality of life.
The workshop studied data on housing, workforce, education, community resources, and trends in movement in and out of communities. Well, with scorching temperatures across the state, your plants might need a little extra tender, loving care. Andrew Pfeiffer has more.
Well, it's no question that this summer has the potential to be one of the hottest recorded in history. And while people and animals are staying cool, believe it or not, your plants need to as well.
Much like humans and pets, outdoor plants too need to keep out of the heat.
The best thing that you can do in the high heat is when you water deeply.
But how much water is really enough? According to the Hofers, that's where most people get it wrong.
We want to know when the soil is dry and then water thoroughly. So watering more is not always the answer.
During days with higher temperatures, you may notice your plant begin to wilt or fold up. Rest assured, it's not dying of thirst.
A plant will fold to protect itself, and sometimes people get the wrong idea when they do that.
Let that plant kind of limp in the high heat.
It is essential to make sure you're getting the water deep enough. That way roots can have enough time to establish in the soil.
It takes 14 days for a root to set in. So they're going to need to have moisture every day.
One of the biggest tips for watering plants, do not water the leaves, only water the roots.
Water the soil, always water the soil, not the plant. Because leaves do not take in moisture, roots take in moisture.
High heat, getting the foliage wet, well, that's where you'll start getting burnt spots that look like little brown spots.
Right.
With these insights, your plants can thrive even in the scorching summer temperatures.
Now, while cacti and other succulents may be a little bit more low maintenance, it never hurts to go with some petunias. Chilling out with the plants this summer, Andrew Pfeiffer, News Channel Nebraska.
Nebraska City, known as the home of Arbor Day, but it was bluegrass music that drew crowds this weekend. Dan Swanson has the story.
The Nebraska City Creative District received an enthusiastic response from the first ever Bluegrass Festival in Nebraska City. The leader of Mike Semred and the Riverhawks called it incredible.
It's a joy to bring it to a community that's very supportive. The Creative District here it's a magical place in Nebraska City, and they really care about their events.
The festival is part of the summer activities scheduled by the newly established Creative District, which claims a mission of developing space for artists to work, teach, exhibit, and perform. This weekend's festival attracted over 500 21 and overs and many others to the Veterans Memorial Building parking lot and 8th Street. An open jam that began the festival included 7-year-old Shane Party and an array of musicians who shun the electrical instruments.
And that's the cool thing about bluegrass is that it's for kids all the way up to adults. I mean, all the way up to the older people, they still play bluegrass. So that's the thing too, is that they share stories and they share their love and history through the medium of music.
The Bluegrass Festival highlighted 4 groups into the evening and a catalog of traditional music. From Nebraska City, I'm Dan Swanson, News Channel Nebraska.
And a southeast Nebraska woman has released a new book shining a light on opioid addiction using a difficult part of her past. Jake Bartecki has more.
A southeast Nebraska woman is using a difficult part of her past to help those in the future. Lori Gatula of Elk Creek, Nebraska recently released her book Broken and Chained, My First 30 Days in the Hell Called Detox. After a chronic back injury, she found herself addicted to her doctor-prescribed painkillers. Now she's using her story as a force for good.
It was so harrowing, I thought people really need to know what is happening to their minds and bodies when they're taking this medication, because the medicine that I was taking was all doctor prescribed.
During her transformation after her injury, everyday activities became a struggle for Gatula. Walking to the end of the street would leave her gasping for air. But Gatula's struggle stretched beyond physical limitations, something she details heavily in the book.
People needed to know that it completely changed my personality. I became somewhat of a recluse. You don't want to do anything. You don't care about the things you used to care about anymore. But getting off of that medicine is torture. And I wanted people to know about that. And also the loved ones of people who are addicted to know what keeps them addicted.
Now Gatula has made a full transformation and recovery. After not being able to walk down her street, she now walks 4 miles a day without stopping, and she won her age group in the Brownville 4th of July Freedom Run in 2023. On top of that, she's lost nearly 100 pounds. Gatula now spends her days doing the things she loves, often hearing good things from other Southeast Nebraska residents about her book.
I've had several quotes from people saying this book is going to save lives. Some of them have been from moms who have lost their children to addiction. Some of them have been from kids who have lost their parents to addiction.
Gatula says none of this would be possible without the support of her husband Randy and their loving family.
The support has been phenomenal. They're very proud of me and proud of the outreach and the things that I'm trying to do to help other people.
In Beatrice, Jake Bartecki, News Channel, Nebraska.
And you can stay up to date with the very latest by following us online. Head to newschannelnebraska.com and click on the News tab there. You can also follow us on X, like us on Facebook and Instagram as well. Thanks for joining us. Have a great day. You're watching News Channel Nebraska.